Hello, I'm Elaine Sullivan, an Egyptologist and the author of Constructing the Sacred, Visibility and Ritual Landscape at the Egyptian Necropolis of Saqqara. This work presents an innovative methodology for examining the sacred landscape at the multi-phased, complex archaeological site of Saqqara, Egypt, through the use of a geographic information system 3D model. The model combines individually authored and procedural, rule-based 3D architectural visualizations of ancient monuments and 2.5D terrain models of the ancient environment with the documentation and analytic capabilities of 2D GIS systems. It focuses on the site at the landscape level, virtually reconstructing monumental structures and major landscape features at ancient Saqqara and in neighboring regions in order to investigate patterns and trends at the site or regional level. Most vitally, the model stresses geotemporal investigation, representing 18 different chronological phases at the necropolis, and tracing major architectural and environmental change from Egypt's Dynasty I, around 2950 BCE, through the last period of native Egyptian rule in Dynasty 30, around 343 BCE. Constructing the Sacred was published in 2020 as part of Stanford University Press's digital monograph publishing initiative. Because of the explicit focus on 3D materials, this publication differs intentionally from traditional books in a number of important ways. To make the 3D content dynamic and include significant multimedia material, this publication is fully born digital. It was designed and intended to live exclusively as a digital object. I consider it part research monograph with long-form examination of a single topic, but also functioning partly as a type of scholarly edition, a deeply annotated archive that encourages exploration, interpretation, and further use by the reader. My primary goal is to fully integrate the 3D GIS model into the narrative of this work, providing the model of Saqqara with clear historical context, explanations, and description. I use the model to analyze, explain, and interpret the site in a way that makes it a fundamental part of the publication, equal to the accompanying text. This work stands as a direct response to the marginalization of 3D scholarly materials in archaeology and history to the category of illustration in relation to the primacy of textual narrative. In this short video, I will demonstrate how readers might approach the project and show some of the functionality of the digital publication. So let's enter. The project uses the Scalar publishing platform. It takes advantage of a number of the existing capabilities of that platform, which include the ability to integrate multimedia digital material with long-form narrative text. In the main sections of the monograph, dynamic 3D content, black and white and color imagery, video, and static model renders are all directly integrated within the textual description and scholarly argumentation. The publication is divided into 10 main sections. Each themed section, which is akin to a chapter in a traditional book, has a series of subsections, each of which compose a separate web page with a distinct URL. We're now here in the introduction. As the reader scrolls through and reads each subsection, they encounter a link or series of links at the bottom of the subsection page. The last one will take them to the next part of the argument. The reading experience of each of these pages is intended to be similar to reading an online PDF or ebook, where the reader follows the curated argument of the author. The monograph is intended to be read sequentially, like a traditional book, but Scalar's links and table of contents allow repeat readers or those interested in specific concepts to easily jump to the sections in which they are most interested. Section 1 is primarily a simple narrative experience for the reader, but introduces some of the affordances of the digital Scalar platform, including the in-text Chicago-style citations, which, when the reader clicks on the numbered footnote marker, pop up so that they don't clutter the text. These citations frequently include direct links to stable DOIs for the publication, allowing the reader to access primary and secondary source materials in exterior archives with only a few clicks. These open outside windows in your browser. Section 2 takes the reader on a geotemporal site tour, looking at what we know about Saqqara through space and time. I've organized this chronologically and thematically through types of monuments, starting with the first monumental architecture at the site in Dynasty 1, and then moving through Egypt's late period, Dynasties 26 through 30. We'll start with the early dynastic elite burials. The Scalar platform allows for integration of long-form descriptive text with the interactive web-based 3D reconstruction model of the site within an embedded window. Readers can zoom in and out, spin around, and explore the 3D model of the site, not through curated fly-throughs, but dynamically. This functionality occurs using the tools on the left of the embedded window. Utilizing the plus, you zoom in. The minus zooms you out. The 4 arrow allows you to pan the model. And the circle arrow rotates the model. Comparable navigation is possible using the reader's own mouse. Scroll wheel in or out, left click, and right click. A compass button reorients the model to the north, and a home button takes the reader back to the original Dynasty 1 window location within the model, although it does not automatically reset the time slider to Dynasty 1, which the reader has to do by hand. During free navigation of the model, the reader can click on individual monuments to view descriptive metadata as an expandable pop-up. This includes information from the original 2D GIS, including data like the tomb name and number, the owner-builder, period, and dynasty of construction, as well as the original archaeologist and time of discovery. The reader can use the time slider in the lower center of the model window to jump forward or backwards in the chronology of the site. After done exploring one model, the reader continues with the narrative text until they encounter the next model window below. The 3D reconstruction model of the site is linked directly to the text based on location and time period. So the reader is positioned looking at the part of the model under discussion in the text. So here I'm talking about the Dynasty 2 and 3 aspects of the site, and here the reader is directly brought to the Dynasty 3 location. As well, this section incorporates multiple types of archaeological datasets, including images of maps from legacy publications from the 19th and early 20th century, modern and historic satellite imagery like corona imagery, and non-invasive GPR survey data to tell the full archaeological story of the site. The primary goal of this section is to fully integrate the 3D GIS model into the narrative of this work, providing the model of Saqqara with historical context, explanations, and description. Section 2 takes the reader through a series of distinct time slices at Saqqara, highlighting the important monuments constructed at those moments. The reader may notice that not only do important new monuments appear as the time slider moves forward, but some monuments disappear or change in appearance to represent the disassembling or deflation of monuments over the many centuries of the site's lifespan, such as here, where the Dynasty 6 stone pyramid of King Teti is visualized as a deflated mound without the crisp lines of the original casing during the time slices dated to the New Kingdom, 8 centuries later. The time slider in the model is automatically linked to a base map or terrain file that attempts to represent historic ground level at the chronological moment displayed. The online model includes 4 distinct terrains, as ground level at the site changed dramatically over time at Saqqara, and these switch in and out as the viewer moves the time slider or jumps to a new section. When finishing a section, the final subsection page will offer to take the reader to the start of the next section, in this case, section 3, hidden in the scene. In this section, I used the model to argue that visibility was an important but as yet under-theorized aspect of royal and elite sacred landscape production in ancient Egypt. Here, instead of the dynamic 3D model, I used GIS analysis maps, video walkthroughs of the model space, maps, and static model renders to visually support my scholarly argument. Sections 4 and 5 similarly use multimedia and textual narrative to discuss the use of the cemetery by various groups, and how strategies of landscape intervention at Saqqara paralleled those used at other royal and high elite funerary sites in the Nile Valley. Section 6 offers a detailed discussion of the building process for the 3D GIS model of Saqqara. This includes a narrative description of the individual monument constructions in SketchUp and the use of procedural modeling techniques in the software program City Engine. Saqqara has been the subject of scholarly exploration for over 150 years, and the 3D monument visualizations in the model synthesize and reimagine the published work of dozens of Egyptian and international teams. This section also includes colored static images of the GIS maps and published data used to make the terrain files for the 3D model. Let's look at one. The terrains for Central Saqqara and Abu Sir are based on digitized 1 to 5,000 topographic line maps of the area created through aerial photography in the late 1970s. Here you can see the line maps as well as the base data with published citations for how these terrains were created. Section 7 is the narrative conclusion. Section 8 includes more extensive metadata and paradata than could be included in the online dynamic 3D model, so that scholars really interested in the base data can understand the reconstructions. Section 8 includes all the metadata categories completed for each model in tabular format. This includes the owner or builder of the monument, time period, but also source information for the 2D location data and basic elements of the 3D reconstruction data, like the reconstructed height, width, length of the monument, and a bibliography for that information for each custom-built 3D model. I also include a discussion of the choices made in each reconstruction, as the person who built the 3D model of each monument had to decide how to visualize aspects of uncertainty in the original form of the monument, as well as how to simplify complex architecture for a schematic digital representation. Above each table is a link to the downloadable files for each model in their native file format, SketchUp, SKP, as well as an OBJ format, an open format that is used by many 3D programs. These open a zip file for download to the reader's browser. This section is again organized by chronology. Dynasty 1 to Dynasty 26 to 30. Links to the terrain files deposited in Stanford's Library Earthworks program are located at the bottom of the page. The terrains associated with the temporal period of the model is shown on each page. Clicking on these links opens a new browser and takes the reader to the exterior library depository, Stanford's Earthworks. Section 9 includes a listing of credits and data credits. This project was highly collaborative and relied on the sharing of data, labor, and skills of many individuals, and that is listed here. Section 10 is a full biography of the project in Chicago bibliographic style, including stable digital object identifiers or DOI links to the sources on the web when available. Besides the many articles now available in digitized journals, there are a number of field and excavation reports, especially those from the late 19th and early 20th century, that can be directly accessed online, and clicking on the given link will open a new browser window and take the reader directly there. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy exploring Constructing the Sacred.